May 22, 2019, Dandale, North Dublin. 4 p.m. The afternoon sun is hanging high. Clear skies, not a cloud above. The estate feels still, calm. School's just out. You can hear dogs barking in back gardens, kids shouting over footballs, the low rumble of traffic in the distance. Jordan Davis, 22, steps onto a familiar laneway off Marigold Road. He's pushing a pram. His son is in it. Just 4 months old, wrapped in blankets. Not a care in the world. To anyone watching, it looks like a normal moment. Quiet, soft. A young dad out for a stroll, soaking in the day, maybe heading to a nearby shop, maybe just stretching his legs. It's the kind of peaceful, everyday scene you walk past without a second thought. But that calm, it's seconds from shattering. From behind, a figure appears. A bicycle rolls into the laneway, fast. The rider doesn't call out, doesn't slow down. He's dressed in black from head to toe. His hood is up, his face hidden behind a balaclava. He's a shadow on wheels. He gets closer, closer. Then he pulls a handgun. No words, no hesitation. Gunfire erupts. The sound rips through the estate like a thunderclap. Locals near Our Lady Immaculate School say it sounded like fireworks. A quick, brutal volley of cracks, loud, sharp. Over in seconds, 3 shots hit Jordan. 1 in the chest, 1 in the arm, 1 in the head. He goes down hard, crumples beside the pram. His baby starts screaming. The shooter doesn't stop to check, doesn't pause to look back. He spins the bike around and pedals away at speed. It's a red mountain bike, bold, distinctive. He disappears around the corner like he was never there. In the stillness that follows, a small child playing nearby stops dead, frozen, staring. Too young to understand, too shocked to move. Just meters away, Jordan Davis is bleeding out on the pavement. A young father, gunned down. His son's cries echo through the laneway. Screams follow. Windows fly open. Neighbors rush out, unsure what they've heard. Someone's shouting. Someone else is on the phone calling emergency services. Another person rushes to the pram, scoops up the baby. The child is shaken but somehow unhurt. Welcome to Unveiled Crime Mysteries channel, where I unveil mysterious true crimes, some lost to time, others fresh in memory. Justice might not be served, but the shadow is unveiled. What they see is horrifying. A man lying motionless, blood pooling beneath him, still warm concrete. A pram tips slightly to one side. Jordan Davis, just 22 years old, shot dead in broad daylight, just yards from a school. Guards arrive quickly, but it's already too late. The pram is pushed aside. The body is cordoned off. Crime scene tape goes up. What was a shortcut home is now a murder scene. A young father has just been executed. Not in the dead of night, not in some back alley, but in full view of the public, at 4 p.m., with his child next to him. This isn't just a shooting. This is a message. This is the second gangland hit in under 18 hours. And it's personal. The day before, Jordan's closest friend, Sean Little, had been found dead, dumped beside a burning car on a remote country road. Burned alive or executed first. Garda hadn't said. But the timing couldn't be ignored. Now Jordan was gone too. 2 men, 2 bodies. Less than a day apart. North Dublin wasn't just seeing violence. It was being consumed by it. Kulok, once just another working-class neighborhood on the edge of the city, had turned into a war zone. Gunshots had become a language. Revenge was the currency. And loyalty, that was a death sentence. Jordan Davis wasn't just another name on a file. He was part of a crew tied to people with debts, connected to names the Garda knew well. People the media would soon start calling the Gucci Gang. Young, flashy dealers, wrapped up in a bitter, spiraling feud with one of the most dangerous cartels in the country. And Jordan, he had chosen a side. Or maybe, just maybe, he hadn't chosen fast enough. Earlier that day, just hours before the shooting, Jordan had posted a tribute on Facebook. A picture of himself with Sean Little. The caption read, "Rest in paradise, you are a gent." To anyone else that's just grief. Just a friend mourning another. But in the world Jordan lived in, that post was something more. A declaration. A flag planted in the ground. A signal that he hadn't backed away from his loyalty to Sean. And in gangland, a show of loyalty can get you killed. The man on the bike knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't rush. He didn't miss. He didn't care that a baby was in the pram. This wasn't a panic job. This was planned. Efficient. Ruthless. He came in, did the job, rode off. It was broad daylight, in front of a school, in a residential street. But that didn't matter. This was a hit. Pure and simple. North Dublin was in the middle of something brutal. Something terrifying. Something old school and chaotic at the same time. Turf wars, drug debts, betrayals, backstabbings, all feeding into one long bloody chain of violence. And Jordan Davis was just the latest link. But to understand how it came to this, how a young father could be gunned down in front of his baby, on a sunny Wednesday afternoon, we have to go back. Back before the Facebook post, back before the firebombed car, back to the very start of the feud. Because this didn't start with Jordan or even Sean. It started with another man, a package of drugs, a police raid, a six-figure debt, a name, Zach Park, and a decision someone made to pay off that debt. Not in cash, but in blood. Investigators believe Hamid Sanambar wasn't working alone. At least one other man helped set the trap. Together they lured Sean Little out under false pretenses. They shot him at close range, one bullet to the head. Clean, final, no time to run, no time to fight back. Then they burned the car, whether to destroy evidence or send a message, nobody knows for sure. But the meaning was clear, this was a hit. Word of Sean Little's murder spread like wildfire through Kulok. Another young man gone. Another local name, dead before 23. 2 killings now in under 6 months. The streets weren't just tense, they were boiling. The community reeled. The grief hadn't even settled when something worse happened. May 22, 2019, just 18 hours after Sean Little's body was found. Early afternoon. Jordan Davis gets the call. His friend sure he's dead. Jordan, 22 like Sean, was from Kulok, small-time dealer, young dad, part of the same crew. He and Sean had grown up together, ran the streets side by side. Now Sean was gone. And Jordan was gutted. At 3:45 p.m., grieving and angry, Jordan takes to Facebook. He posts a photo of him and Sean. The caption is simple, "Rest in paradise, you are a gent." It's a tribute, a farewell, but it's also a message, and everyone in the game knows it. Less than an hour later, Jordan's outside, walking through Dandale, just one estate over. He's pushing his baby boy in a pram, same shortcut, same laneway, the one that runs past Our Lady Immaculate School. He doesn't see the bike coming. A lone cyclist rides up from behind, slow, steady, watching him. Some say the bike was orange, others say red. But what everyone remembers is what came next. The rider jumps off, pulls a 9mm pistol, no time for words. He opens fire. Jordan's hit. Bullets punch into his back and torso. One round rips into his head. He drops instantly. The pram rolls a few feet, then bumps to a stop. His son is screaming. The killer hops back on the bike and rides off, gone in seconds, swallowed by the maze of streets. It's a clean exit. Broad daylight. No masks slipping. No witnesses talking. Chaos erupts. The baby's still crying. Neighbors rush in, shouting, calling emergency services. Some try to help, but it's no good. Guardian paramedics arrive fast, but it's already over. Jordan is pronounced dead at the scene. He's lying just yards from the school gates, blood spreading beneath him on the concrete. His son, miraculously unharmed, is carried away by a stunned neighbor. North Dublin is now staring at two fresh bodies, two mates murdered in under a day. The Garda issue a careful statement. We're not making a connection at this point in time. One superintendent tells reporters, but everyone knows the truth. The link is written in blood. This feud isn't slowing down, it's spiraling. Zach Parker's murder started it. Sean Little's killing pushed it further. Now Jordan's execution has kicked it into overdrive. One by one, young men are getting cut down in this war. No courts, no warnings, just bullets. Jordan's death hit harder than most. It was bold, brazen. A father killed while pushing a pram. Even hardened crime reporters were shaken. The message was loud. No one is safe, not even a man with his child in daylight. Jordan knew he had enemies. He'd been warned. Just weeks before, a rival had told him, "I'm on your case, mate." His name was on a tick list. A debt beside it. Big numbers. Maybe it was money. Maybe it was loyalty. Maybe it was that Facebook post. Whatever the reason, Jordan Davis had a target on his back, and it caught up with him. With his murder, the feud reached a fever pitch. Two high-profile shootings, less than a day apart. The air in Kulok turned electric. People were scared. People were angry. Garda units flooded the estates, armed patrols, visible on every street. The media gave it a name, the Kulok Feud, a brutal tit-for-tat conflict that now had everyone watching. But the killing hadn't stopped. Not yet, because 1 week later, something happened that felt pulled straight from a gangster film. Hamid Sanambar, the man suspected of murdering Sean Little, showed his face. May 28, 29. He walks into the wake. It's at the Little family home on Kilbarron Avenue, Kulok. People are gathered, mourners coming and going. Grief hangs in the air. Sanambar shows up, calm as ever, shakes hands, offers condolences, moves through the crowd like he belongs there. Maybe he thought no one would suspect him. Maybe he wanted to see who was whispering behind his back. Either way, he misjudged the room. He was already a marked man. Sean Little's friends were watching. Some of them were certain this was the man who pulled the trigger, the same man who played the friend, the same man who burned the car. The betrayal cut deep, and now here he was, standing in their garden. It was too much. Around 3:30 p.m. a silver Toyota Avensis pulls up outside, screeches to a stop. Three men jump out, faces hidden behind balaclavas, guns drawn, shouts erupt, people screaming, ducking, running for cover. Too late, they open fire. Bullets slam into Sanambar at close range. He goes down hard. Blood spills across the driveway. Mourners hide behind walls, hedges, parked cars. Someone shouts for help, but the shooters are already back in the car, tires screaming as they vanish down the road. By the time Garda arrive, it's done. Sanambar is dead. The same garden where he shook hands an hour earlier is now his final resting place. He'd been shot multiple times. It was fast, brutal, precise. A hitman, taken out like the men he once hunted. To some it felt poetic. A betrayer, killed at the wake of the man he betrayed. Unofficially, Garda believed Sean Little's people arranged it. Friends, maybe even his father, Stephen Little. No one said it outright, but the whispers grew louder. If that was true, it only meant one thing. The cycle was still turning. Because in this world, vengeance never ends. It only changes hands. Sanambar had been around, a gun for hire, tied to gangs across Dublin, even linked to cartel players abroad. He came to Ireland years ago, claimed asylum, stayed to build a name in the underworld. Now he was number 4 on the list of the dead. Zach Parker, Sean Little, Jordan Davis, Hamid Sanambar. 4 names, 4 murders, 4 months. Kulok was now soaked in blood, and the year wasn't done. By the end of 2019, 5 young men were gone, all from North Dublin, all dead because of one feud. The Kulok Feud. It didn't drag on, it moved fast. 5 names wiped out in under a year. Boom, boom, boom. No breathing room, no second chances. The streets weren't just dangerous anymore, they were hollowed out. Crews that once ran the corners were gutted. Trust was dead. The people getting shot weren't random. They weren't strangers. They were mates, brothers, childhood friends, men who once stood shoulder to shoulder. Now they were taking turns digging each other's graves. And with so many gone, a vacuum opened. A silent gap, something raw and violent, always rushes to fill that kind of space. The power struggle began. Everyone wanted the top spot, the patches, the flow of drugs, the money, the fear. It was no longer one crew against another. The lines blurred, cliques inside cliques, old allegiances broken, new ones built in whispers. It started over one debt, one bad deal, but it exploded into something much darker, a full-blown turf war. The Gardaí knew it wasn't random. They could see the pattern. The bullets were too deliberate, the timing too precise. Each murder set off the next. So Garda intelligence turned up the heat. Surveillance ramped up, phones tapped, homes watched, conversations logged. Every corner, every name, every whisper was under the microscope. They weren't just catching murderers now, they were trying to stop them. And in September 2019, they did just that. September 14, a car was moving through the north side, not speeding, not flashy, just moving. But Gardaí knew what they were looking at. They moved in. Unmarked cars boxed it in tight. Armed response swarmed in. Weapons raised. No chances taken. Inside the car were 2 men. Stephen Little, the father of Sean Little, a grieving dad, a man with nothing left to lose. Beside him was Edward MacDonald, 25, from Wexford, a known player, tied into the scene for years. They were caught red-handed. In the boot, Gardaí found the kit, a loaded semi-automatic pistol, 2 black balaclavas, gloves, 2 baseball bats, a can of petrol, a long-handled lighter. It wasn't subtle, it was a ready-made murder box, a complete package. Kill someone, torch the evidence, walk away. Under questioning, Stephen Little cracked. He didn't deny it, he didn't spin. He told Gardaí, "Had you given me another hour, I would have killed the bastard that killed him." The him was Sean, his son, shot and dumped, left by the roadside, burned in a car. Now Stephen was trying to settle the score himself. He wasn't shouting, he wasn't grandstanding, he was broken, furious, done with the courts, done with waiting. He also said, "I lost my marriage, and my son, his whole life, built around crime, and now it had chewed up everything he loved." This was no longer business, this was personal. Stephen Little and Edward MacDonald were charged. Both stood before the Special Criminal Court, Ireland's non-jury court for organized crime. No jury, no games. They pleaded guilty to possessing a firearm with intent. The judge said their arrest likely stopped another killing. Stephen Little got 6 years, MacDonald got 9. 1 life was saved, maybe more, but just for that night, because the feud wasn't finished, not even close. Gardaí kept pressing. Files kept growing. More names, more photos, more trails of violence. And in 2020, a breakthrough came. The Jordan Davis murder, the most public of them all, had always stood out. A father, shot beside his baby's pram, in daylight. Near a school, there had been CCTV footage of the shooter on a bike. Blurred but usable. They followed him frame by frame, street to street, day to day. They tracked his movements. He wasn't random, he'd been tailing Jordan before the murder. Watching, waiting. The man they locked in on was Wayne Cooney, 31, from Tallaght, a known gunman. A name already on their radar. He was focused, methodical, no panic, no mess. He was hunting Jordan like prey. At trial, witnesses confirmed what the footage showed. Cooney was the man in the balaclava, the killer on 2 wheels. In July 2022, the jury delivered its verdict, guilty. Wayne Cooney was sentenced to life. At sentencing, the judge didn't hold back, called him an extremely dangerous individual for executing a young dad like that, with a child in the pram in full view of the public. His girlfriend, the one who helped him flee the scene, helped him hide, was also convicted. She had assisted an offender. The law caught up with them both. Justice came late, but it came. The Hamid Sanambar case was harder. The man had walked into a wake, smiled, shook hands. Hours later, he was lying dead on the same driveway. Gardaí suspected straight away that it was retaliation, that Sean Little's people had done it. But suspicion isn't enough. Names were slippery. No one talked. No one flipped. Until a man in his 30s arrested in Spain on an unrelated charge. Something small. A minor incident. But when his name was checked, it lit up alarms. He was wanted in Ireland. A European arrest warrant was already active. Gardaí believed he had a hand in Sanambar's murder. He's now awaiting extradition. 5 years later, the case is still chasing justice. Because that's the thing with gangland. The violence comes quick, but the consequences stretch on. By mid-2020, the tempo of the killings slowed, but it never stopped entirely. May 2020, almost exactly 1 year after Sean Little's execution, another man is targeted. He's walking on Cromcastle Drive, Kulok. Broad daylight. He's shot in the legs. A warning shot. He survives. But the message, loud and clear. The feud might be quieter, but it's not dead. Gardaí stayed sharp, patrolling, watching. No one wanted to see another summer like 2019. One filled with bodies and burnt-out cars. What started as a drug debt had become something else. A blood feud. A wildfire burning through a community. By year's end, the death toll sat at 5. Zach Parker, Sean Little, Jordan Davis, Hamid Sanambar, Erwin Fishy Boylan, all gone. Dozens more lived in fear. Some left town. Others vanished underground. The streets were no longer battlegrounds. They were hunting grounds. You couldn't trust anyone. Old friends turned. Loyalty got you killed. One was gunned down pushing his child. One was burned in a car. One was shot at a wake. It sounded like something from a film, but it wasn't fiction. For the people of Kulok and Dandale, this was reality. The feud revealed something else too. A shift in power, changing of the guard in Dublin's criminal underworld. These weren't hardened gang bosses. These were lads in their early 20s. Instagram gangsters. New money. Fast cars. Fake loyalty. When the Hutch-Kinahan feud started to quiet down, it left a gap. The old crews lost power. Into that gap came the new blood. Zach Parker, Sean Little, Mr. Flashy and the Gucci gang. Decked out in designer, flexing on social, living fast. But they didn't last long. As Assistant Commissioner Pat Leahy put it, low-level dealing is enough to have your life taken at a young age. And he was right. Most of them didn't even make it to 25. Today the sirens are quieter. The body counts stopped rising. But peace, it's shaky, temporary. The major players are either behind bars or buried. Mr. Flashy, still out there, still active by most accounts, but even his crew has scattered. Some moved on. Others met the same fate. Kulok feels calm now. But underneath that calm, tension. The families left behind still grieve, still hurt, still ask why. Some truth came out in court. Enough to close a few cases. But not all. Plenty of questions remain. Who gave the kill orders? Who switched sides? Who whispered in the wrong ear? Was Zach Parker betrayed from within? Who burned Sean? Who pulled the strings behind the wake shooting? We may never know. In this world, silence is currency. The ones who know are either too scared to talk, or already 6 feet under. The Kulok Feud has passed into Irish gangland legend. A warning. A story told in backrooms and schoolyards. A story of greed, of betrayal, of bodies stacked on the same soil they once played football on. 5 lives. 1 year. All for power, money, and pride. It started with a single debt. It ended with burned cars and bleeding streets. Now there's a strange quiet. The gunshots have stopped, but the ghosts haven't. Zach, Sean, Jordan, Ian, Hamid. Their names are now etched into the darker chapters of Dublin's criminal history. And the lads who survived, they live differently now, walking slower, watching harder, never quite at ease. The fire is out, but the embers still glow, because in this world, peace doesn't last. All it takes is one betrayal, one spark, one name whispered to the wrong person, and the whole thing ignites again. Final lines. North Dublin is calm now, but it's not healed. Not really. The Kulok feud burned hot and fast, and left deep scars. The silence feels wrong, unnatural. The fear hasn't left. The only question now, not if, but when, and who's next. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments. For more real stories daily, subscribe, turn on notifications, and we'll see you next time. There's always another case to be unveiled.